To Blender Sushi Live. In this episode, I'll be showing you some kind of abstract and freestyle 3D creations. It's really something that you can create without even thinking too much. So I think it's more like some kind of meditations. It's just a mixture of maybe like a graffiti or like just simple doodles. So I'm gonna show you very quickly. I'm gonna hit tilde, go to the front view. I like to start like this and then Shift A and we'll add grease pencil, blank. Okay, it's blank grease pencil, right? And then you can switch to draw and then turn on auto keying. Make sure the strength is maximum, but it's really up to you. And really you just start doodling, right? You don't even need to think too much about it. You can think of this like a character or whatever, and then but you also want to turn on mirroring. So I like to just do something like this, maybe some kind of totem, I don't know, just be really free about it. Okay, so we have something like this, and you can see there's a head and then all this kind of part. You actually don't need to think too much. Go to the side view, or you can't see much, but it's a good idea to have the front and the side view. Maybe this could be helpful when you are adding details. You can see the strokes is happening over there. This is the arm part. Maybe make the bodies some kind of detail. Let's make this like looking like a bird, like the bird in Final Fantasy, maybe chocobo. Yeah. You can do more, but I think this is pretty much enough to start with. And I will hit apply. This is a quick job in creations of this artwork. And then let's save this as mechanical. And we're gonna keep the grease pencil data like this. At this point, I will have to use SKETCHFAB because I want to turn this into points, because Geometry Nodes doesn't have this ability yet, but it should have this ability in the future. So it's simply turning grease pencil into points. There are 220 strokes that I just create. I can join them easily using Mesh Viewer. This is Viewer Draw. It's just like a viewer. Mesh Viewer can merge it and generating a real object. So grease pencil become points, and on top of this you can randomize. This sort of making scribbles. So we have some kind of wireframe. Okay, so this is kind of already quite interesting. On top of this, let's use Geometry Nodes. Point to volume. We've done this. I've done this many times. You might have seen this too many times. However, I will always repeat the process, just like a cooking show. Good cooking show, show you everything. Okay, now we have our character. It's something. Even though some volumes perhaps are missing, and this you know your character inside your head, even though you didn't plan it much, you want to have some kind of volume here. So I'll make a duplicate because I want to keep all the process here. This is just an intermediate object, right? Alpha. Just hide it. So we have this guy. Simply apply as a mesh. So at this point you can go to sculpting and continue over there. However, I will do something different. I will create mirror So this is where you can blend and mesh, push and pull some volume area. This is where you want to add a little bit something, but still this is, like I said, this is still like a free form creations, so don't think too much about it. It's like a meditation, like a yoga, something to play with. You will end up with something in the end. You can actually add resolutions here because this is very low res. When you're doing sculpting, you want to subdivide it a little bit more, so that's probably better. If you want, you can always turn on dynamic topology here, so when you're painting smaller area, it's gonna subdivide it for you. See, even here I don't do too much thinking. No, don't think too much with this. I only use two brushes, like draw, maybe sometimes use grab. You know, grab is very cool. You can just grab some areas, make it really big brush. Let's try with shading the character. This is still kind of too balloony. Actually, nothing wrong with a balloony character, you know, when you're just starting. It has shapes. So yeah, from here, let me save very quickly, just to keep everything nice and recorded. I want to show you this, right? This is I call it Deco Mecha. It's like a random shapes with just lines like this. This is actually made using Curve. So on top of this, okay, you can continue in sculpting, you know, just adding detail, etc. Maybe I should do that a little bit more with dynamic topology on, with the draw brush. Just right click and change the radius. I still have symmetry on, so it's already kind of nice, and it's pretty fun to add details like this just in the area. However, sometimes sculpting is nice, you can add details this way, but sometimes you actually want real objects, or like different way to think about this. So you can use, of course, use masking or some other technique, sculpting technique. I don't want to think too much, so I just use a curve, right? Create a curve Bezier. I learned this from one of the Twitter guy, Fun Jan. I think the name is Jan Fun something. With a curve here, you just hit Tab and then select all, hit A, and then X. Delete everything, right? Delete everything. Curve tool, when you're in edit modes with a curve, you can switch to draw tool, and the drawing tool is Bezier. You can switch from cursor. This is 3D cursor where you're gonna usually draw curve. We want to switch this to surface because we already have this like a reference surface to work with. Just to add details very quickly. See, lots of tools over here have attributes that's hidden. It's almost hidden. It's like this. In our case, we want to have just curve with taper. I'm drawing using mouse. If I use Wacom stylus or something else, maybe it's gonna be better. I want to draw something here. Okay. Make sure geometry is turned on, and I extrude slightly, and then with depth, resolution not too much, and you might want to turn on profile also. This is all the fancy profile curve that you can use, and then you start adding details like that. It's very strange that this is actually working. And add a mirror. For all the process, you might notice I use mirror a lot. So now we have this way of adding details to your character, whatever it is. Sometimes, yeah, that's not working too well. However, most of the time, this is actually working. Would be nice if the radius can be randomized. So this is the mecha deco that I was talking about. Sometimes, okay, the curve might look a little bit weak over there, but you can still control curve detail now. With something like this, it's starting to look more interesting. It's like it has a lot of details. Okay, just like what is this? It's like maybe like a kind of like snail or slug that's walking around the character. I mentioned about fancy preset. Here's we got some fancy preset curve that you can use. Make it more hard edge. Yeah, okay. It's totally up to you how you want to detail the character or the totem. But we are using a lot of Blender features from Grease Pencil. Sphere Chalk is actually special in that case. You don't need to use Sphere Chalk, but I think it's super useful kind of to link Grease Pencil to geometry nodes. I've been using Sphere Chalk for almost 10 years. It's a great add-on. And remember, we use Sculpt also at some point. So this is really the whole process, the whole cooking show. You make like a 3D form, like a freestyle form. It's abstract, but not really abstract, because you still have some kind of control over this. You can extrude like crazy. That's actually not too bad. You can do this and then add more details. You're not limited to a single Bezier curve. So that's a single Bezier curve with one control. But you can always Shift A, add another curve Bezier, delete everything, draw on surface, and yeah, all the tools is ready. Switch to object or profile and start adding more details. Remember to mirror, and also you want to turn on geometry extrusion a little bit and depth a little bit. Resolution, just reduce it. This is for smaller details. You can see how the curve is working with the previous curve, so it's an extra detailing. At any time in points, if you want, you can also turn the previous curve into mesh using Sphere Chalk. So Sphere Chalk is very non-destructive. You don't need to convert curve, but you can convert curve into mesh and keeping the data. All this is gonna go up. The naming system is important. So For my character, I usually I like to have some kind of like, you know, like spiraling like that. It's kind of my trademark. You know how a Blender logo is like almost like a spiral. So I can still control the depth and the extrusion detail. It will be better if you're using like a stylus. You can control the pressure. Yeah, okay, I think I'm pretty happy with this, you know. With this original detail, you can actually do something fancy here with modifier. There's no limit of what you can do with this method. So I really reduce the geometry, and you can mirror the geometry. Okay, keep everything nice and tidy, and then let me use edge split. Okay, edge split is cool. It's kind of splitting object based on angle, and then you can use smooth, and you can see how the surface starting to break like a Voronoi. Once you do that, you can also solidify. So a lot of process going on. Now it's really just for you to add some kind of material and do a nice render. Sometimes I like to mix like a metal, glass, you know, like all the basic stuff that Blender can do really well using EV real-time rendering. So for example, for the rock, I can make it really rough. I can add like a subsurface scattering. So this is subsurface. It's making things looking like a skin rubbery material. Just add a little bit of metalness and play with the roughness. And then for the lines over there, I want to make it really metallic, kind of like a gold. It's a quickie one. And then for the last material, okay, this is the underneath material. Let's just no subsurface. Make this like a darker color. This is the inside of body of the character. Play with the roughness and metalness. I like this part to be like more like a stone like. What can really add a detail is usually ambient occlusions. I have few tricks with materials that I can talk about forever. Kind of like with the stylus, with shading, even with just the basic shading, you can do a lot. If you want to add some color, plug noise into base color, scale it down. It's adding some noisy color. On top of this, if you want to add more details, you can add like a bump map or displacement vector. That's a little bit more complicated. However, it really adds a lot. This is actually kind of nice trick also. The bump map will work in real time, but if you want to have like a vector displacement, can you see the details? Maybe not too much. There's some bump detail. It's very subtle. It's a Voronoi. So like this part is like a clay, and then second part is like a broken porcelain, you know, like a blue and white porcelain. It's broken, and then something that's holding everything together. It's very metaphorical or philosophical. Oh, more like metaphorical. So this is my creations, right? We started with just grease pencil, and it has shapes, it has form. It looks really strange. It's like something you might find in the rubbish and rubbish bin, but no, it's something that you might find in the gallery. So yeah, I call this some kind of existential blend. It's a form. It's really abstract. However, you made this, you know, it doesn't matter. So I think this is quite nice. Hopefully you find this kind of modeling interesting, and you can try this yourself. You can follow every steps. I might give you the model, or maybe I will just keep it for myself, or yeah, but if you try to follow this, every one of you will create something that's slightly different. So that's really what matters, and the whole process is more important. I mean, the final result is also kind of nice. You can render this using other render engine, or you can export this out as AR, or put this in the as VR kind of art. But yeah, that's the whole process. Hopefully you find this interesting. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.